I find this upcoming article pretty fascinating, but John's going to talk a bit more about it on today's not so critical and not so arty update.
This is so cool.
So cool.
And it makes you really reanalyze art. So an AI generated artwork won first place at a state fair. The other competing artists are naturally pretty mad. The person who did this, what is his name? Jason Allen, it says.
Jason Allen
worked really hard to refine and adjust and I guess alter over and over again the generated art from this AI, printed it out and stuck it up as if it was his. This is like, and it's gorgeous, right? Like, wow. And this was a digital art competition. So it's digital art. He created the criteria and parameters for the art to be created. I know that's a bit weird on the tongue, but he didn't make it, right? He didn't use a pen and paper or a digital pen, and he did not stroke this through to make art.
Good point.
But he did create something that created it.
Yeah.
Should he take credit? I don't know.
I'm wondering if this is like actual artists getting pissed off at digital artists for cheating because they're not actually using oil paints, they're just using.
And that's exactly yes, exactly. But if we go back, yeah, go ahead.
It was specifically, I think John did mention this, it was specifically a digital art category.
No, that's not what Peter is saying. What Peter is saying, this is exactly like when artists would get pissed at digital artists because they weren't really painting with real colors.
Yeah.
And then what I was going to say is if we go back 10, 20, 30 years, as digital art tools was coming out, Microsoft Paint, and then even more advanced stuff like Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, like, all of a sudden, I don't need to get dirty. I don't need to breathing paint fumes. I don't need to physically stand there. Instead, I can be on my touch screen and with a pen, with a whatever, what are they called? Fuck, I'm forgetting.
Stylus?
Pens.
Brush.
With a stylus, I'm able to do the same exact thing, but like even better. I have automation in there that allows me to refine lines after I've drawn them and smooth out details without having to get all messy. Like, this is so fucking cool that now this is the next step.
So two things. First of all, there's a guy called Mikhail Zalewski who's used to be a privacy engineer or a security engineer for Google, still is, I think. And he commented about AI generated art and how he has no problem whatsoever with it completely replacing certain aspects of the art industry. Because there's always going to be a certain type of art that is just kind of like a commodity. It's all just churned out, like wedding photos or beach photos or, these kind of things. Like, everybody does the same shit and you can't really tell the difference between a professional one and just someone with an iPhone and IKEA stock paintings, that you get on the wall, that kind of stuff. Someone drew it, someone made it, but like, it becomes a skill you can learn in a couple of years, not a true art form at that point. And for AI to replace that, he's all for it. I agree with him. The second thing is that I find it really interesting because I think at some point it will evolve beyond this, in that an AI will be able to determine what would win best in a show like this. And you can automate the whole process. You can just put in very basic parameters and come out with something. And then you could just leave it to like have a competition that is only entered by AIs.
Right.
And that
rated by AIs.
Yes, that would be amazing. And that, I think, is a step towards genuine artificial intelligence. That's actual independent entities which are having a kind of a life of their own. Like, what's the difference between that and us doing it?
We're bio. We're meat
But
and
this
mush.
is the meat and the organic is the only difference. But the fact that it's a creative process, I think, is still true. And I think
But they are, but they are copycats, and I agree with what you're gonna say. We are
Preemptively.
we are copycats. Every
So, John,
artist has, yeah. Go ahead.
What's the argument against this in the competition specifically?
Yeah. It wasn't made by him. He did not draw this.
Yeah,
AI did.
sounds like a pissy pants.
It's exactly what it is.
Technicality.
And I think in competitions, it's very important to be humble. And it doesn't sound like these guys are very humble. And I'll give you an example. There's a video game, one of the biggest video games, called Dota 2. And there's also a video game called StarCraft 2. And AI beat the world champions at both. They thought it was super cool. It was crazy. It predicted every single thing they were going to do before they did it, because it watched 10,000 hours of the best Dota 2 and StarCraft 2 players. And then an AI beat the Go world champion, which is a very old, I think it's a Chinese tabletop game, similar to chess, way more complicated. And is unbeatable. Still, the #1 champion is a computer, and it cannot be beat. Same thing with chess, because we cannot calculate all the different steps that you can do on a chessboard, all the combinations and all the outcomes. An AI can. They can store that in memory, including the probability of each action after one is performed. And the chess masters and grandmasters and champions are like, that's fucking crazy. So these guys are just pissy and mad that some kid beat them in some like fucking state like art fair. Like, dude, okay, be mad.
So, has a different artistic process. That's all.
At NSCU Supreme Court, in the case of Jason Allen and Midjourney versus the Colorado State Fair, how do we find?
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
It's
2 out of 3. It's 2 out of 3. It's 2 out of 3. You lose.
It's gonna say deciding vote.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm the Chief Justice, obviously, but I on my own can't overrule you two. That I think we found that we found in favor of John Allen. I think I might write the dissenting opinion, though. I'm not sure yet, so I'll abstain for now. I'm not certain.
This is peak creativity.
I know.
What is art?
Yeah. This doesn't get more abstract.
It depends on the parameters of the competition. If it's just a digital art competition, then not guilty, I find in favor of Jason Allen. If there are more strict parameters on what it's supposed to be, then maybe, but it doesn't sound like there were. So I guess it's a unanimous decision.
Well, I mean, it's fair enough if they weren't, because it's not like you would say, I don't know, it's a digital art, and then you find out that an elephant has entered because it's learned how to use an iPad.
Right.
They'd be like, oh, sorry, we don't allow elephants. We didn't, but you didn't put that in the rules. It didn't say there was no elephants allowed. Like,
so what's that an argument for? Now I feel like you're talking me out of it.
It's fair enough that they didn't include.
I think it's okay. Now they can include humans only.
Because technically there's no rule that says dogs can't play basketball.
Right. So if I don't know, San Francisco, if the Golden Gate Warriors, bring in Scout, the golden retriever, and he scores a 3-pointer.
That's right.
And exactly,
It's not in the rules.
All right.
Good show, guys.